Thank you all for coming to District 5 Advisory Board. Appreciate it very much. I'm J.B. Johnston, council member for District 5 for City Council. And I let someone else run the meetings, and tonight it's Dennis Clary. Dennis?
All right, thank you, JB. Welcome to this District 5 Advisory Board meeting for April 1st, 2024. I promise you no jokes tonight. I can't promise on behalf of everybody else, but we shall see. Our first item of business is the oath of office, and we have City Clerk Jamie Buster online to help administer that oath. So Jamie, over to you.
Hello and good evening, everyone. So I'm gonna make you guys kind of get up and move for me. So, because I can't see everyone that's on camera. So if you guys could stand underneath the screens on the wall by the podium, that way I can see everyone who's taking their oath.
Sure.
And those who are online, if you could turn your camera on.
Actually, I can't turn my camera on. I'm in the mountains right now, and so my phone reception isn't that great. So if you need me to come down in person, I can do that, or however else might need to do it in the future.
Okay, we'll talk offline, Sierra, and we'll get you some.
You're not been with it before.
All right, if everyone could raise your right hand for me and just repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Grace Carter,
Solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of the District 5 Advisory Board
of the District 5 Advisory Board
for the City of Wichita, Kansas, so help me God.
for the City of Wichita, Kansas, so help me God.
All right, wonderful. Thank you guys for getting up and moving for me tonight. I appreciate it. You are all sworn in, and I believe Teresa has given you your oaths. If you could sign those and get it back to her, and she can get it to me. All right, and that's all I need tonight, so I'll turn the meeting back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Jamie.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can do that. High fives all the way around. It's my privilege and honor to serve with each and every one of you. Since we do have some new faces this evening, it might be nice just we gave a brief introduction from everybody on the DAB. For everybody's pleasure. We'll start off at this end.
So good of you to start with me, thank you.
Welcome, Mary.
Thanks, I'm Mary Whiteside, and I'm a retired educator. From the Wichita Public Schools. One of my colleagues over here. I can't wait to find out. I know JB since how long do you?
Long time.
A long time. A long time.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Welcome.
Stacey Wentworski, and I've been on the board for just about a year. Brian. Rachel Murphy, I live off of 119 Mid Central. I have 3 kids. I own Thomas Gray Interiors, and I think this is my 6th year.
I'm Dave Sanford. I'm a retired healthcare executive, and I'm glad I'm retired because I don't have anywhere to buy my suits now.
I'm Wendy Carter. I think this might be my 4th year, 5th year, I don't know, on the DAB. Started with Brian Fry. I'm over 29th and Tyler. I'm a realtor with JP Whitean, and this is fun. I love representing our community.
I'm Carter Girth. I've been on the DAB for a little over a year. I'm the junior member, senior high school. Brian Fry got me.
Brian Fry also got me. I'm serving at my 2nd term, so I am just about to hit my year. Backtracking, my name is Grace Coyne. I live at
Ridge and School Street, right at that pedestrian crossing. And I have a preschooler. So I'm also at Tesserae, formerly GLMB.
My name is Sean Bowman. This is my first meeting. I live just south of 21st and Mays. I have a wife and 5 kids. And just started my own accounting firm back in December, so having fun with that.
Good evening, I'm Dennis Clary, District 5 resident for 23 years. My entire time in Wichita, proud one at that. This is the beginning of my second term on this board. I work for the Wichita Regional Chamber of Commerce. 2 young children, a boy who's 8 and a girl who is 5. Happy to be here.
Thank you all for serving. Appreciate it.
Okay, our next item of business this evening is the approval of this evening's agenda. I would entertain a motion if anybody.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion before we go to the vote? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. One go back. This is my my error. Sarah Scott online with us on Zoom. If you wouldn't mind, would you please just give us a quick hello and introduction? I apologize for missing you during our introductions.
Well, I didn't even think it didn't even occur to me that you missed me, but thank you. That was sweet of you. Sierra Scott, I have a television show called Positively Kansas that airs on PBS Kansas. I've been in District 5 for at least 20 years, so I'm right there with you, Dennis. So excited. I got appointed by Brian Fry, but so thrilled to serve under JV Johnston. I think we are going to have just an amazing experience, and I'm just happy to serve with all of you.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for tying in this evening. I'm envious of the mountain, so I wish I were where you were, but have a good evening. All right, we will move on to approval of the minutes from our last meeting in March. Everybody should have received this as a part of the packet. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from March 4th? Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions, comments, changes, or discussion on the minutes? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, that takes us to our public agenda for the evening. There are no scheduled items. However, we will move to off agenda items. If there's any individual present this evening that didn't request to speak on the public agenda prior to the meeting, now would be your opportunity to speak at this time. Is there anybody that would like to address the DAB from the podium on any topic really whatsoever? Okay, seeing none, we will move from the public agenda to the board agenda, which will start with our updates, issues, and reports from our council member representing District 5, JV Johnson.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Again, thank you all for attending. Really do appreciate it. Our last presentation today will be by Tyler for community engagement. So hopefully someday this room will be full every time. So we hope so anyway. Just a couple things. One of the big things on city council tomorrow is publishing legal notices in the newspaper. It costs $150,000 a year to publish them. When we get to that point after Tyler, maybe we can talk about that. I'd like to get the district advisory board's views on that. So I do have some stats for you and cost of things. One of the things the most thing I get comments about are roads. Obviously roads. The consensus is our artillery roads are pretty good. Main streets, neighborhood roads, not as much. So I think there's will of the council to put some more money into local streets. So that being said, in 2024, I'll just give you a quick rundown of the things that are happening in District 5. There's an overlay in mid-March, it's already taking place. Mays Road, Maple to Central. I drove through that a couple times. Try to avoid it in the future. 13th Street, Country Acres to Sedgwick County Park. Ridge Road, 13th to 21st Street. I don't think that was started yet. Preventive seal Maze Road, Central to 21st. Some more residential streets, Crack and Seal, some more residential streets. Sedgwick County, the Zoo Boulevard Bridge, which is right over here, estimated to be complete this summer of 2024. So that'll be nice. It's kind of a bottleneck in there too. Westlink Library, where they're adding 8,500 square feet to their and they're renovating the 10,300 square feet. So we'll almost double the size of the library. It's the construction, $6.1 million in ARPA funding, COVID money, and includes $130,000 for art. So trying to make it look nice too. That Brock Wetlands, construction on the boardwalk duct lines came in over the estimated bid a little bit, went to the city council, approved the addition to it, and the completion of it should be in the third quarter of this year. So it won't make it quite a complete loop, but maybe Reggie can talk about that a little bit later, but it's pretty exciting. I know it's something that was really important to Brian, and hopefully we can get that all completed next 4 years or so. I got a tour of the East Patrol Station, the new one. It's pretty neat, very neat. They've already thinking about some ideas how they can change the next one, which is ours, District 5 West Patrol. So they're already thinking about how they can make some improvements. So it is really, really nice. That's a $10 million project, also with ARPA funds. And there's $375,000 in there for art too. So make it look nice. 135th Street Central to 13th Street North. I've wanted this for a long time. It's the only part of 135th that's not improved. It's just narrow two lane with ditches on the side. And it's on the drawing board. So it's expanded to 3 lanes. They'll actually have to close it off for a while. $4.4 million, 2025 construction. So do it in 2025. Still a little ways off, but at least we're on the schedule. Phase 1, the signal at Central and 135th, which that intersection is getting a lot busier now. That'll be in 2024, barring any holdups. There's some talk about trying to get some funding for Tyler and Kellogg. So the traffic doesn't flow there very well going to the airport. Trying to improve that and maybe trying to improve the aesthetics of it too. So does anybody have any questions on roads or anything? I went out and looked at a couple neighbors' roads, so. Yeah, there's one that did. So it is tough. And then the same way with our street. You know, it's a little bumpy in places, but I can tell you when riding my bike to the park to ride or something, we have some roads that are really, really bad in District 5, especially on the eastern part of the district. So hopefully we get those taken care of. And I think that's it.
All right, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the DAB members for Councilmember Johnson? Before we proceed to item number 4, I did see my friend and colleague Lamont Anderson join the meeting. Sir, if you would, just to commemorate this new board, we gave some brief introductions. If you just say a few words about who you are, and why you're here, that would be welcome.
Lamont Anderson, lifelong Richardson, entrepreneur, aviation individual. I'm here because I care about my city, I care about my community, and I want to do all I can to improve both, working simultaneously. So for those that are new, thank you and welcome aboard, and we look forward to your input and improving our community and our district and our city overall. So thank you.
Thank you, Lamont. Appreciate you. Okay, item number 4. I don't know if you'd necessarily call this maybe a new agenda item, but what you can expect from JV and this DAB monthly is we're going to feature a representative from various city boards just to provide an update on what's going on with that board and with that division of the city. Joining us this evening is Elaine Stevens to talk to us about the Wichita Animal Services Advisory Board.
Woo, pet politics. There's nothing, I am learning this. Any other politics, like type of politics, just pales in comparison to the enthusiasm that people bring to this topic. So it's challenging right now. It always is challenging. I've been the District 5 rep on the Animal Services Advisory Board for, this will be, I guess, 4.5 years. So just starting my 3rd term. And so to go over some of the latest stuff, our euthanasia rate is increasing. We know that that is not anything anybody wants to happen. First off, let me start by saying we have an amazing animal services department. The staff at Animal Services get so much flack from the community and none of it is deserved. Every single person, and several of them live in District 5, but every single one of them cares about the creatures that come through their care, and they do everything they can. Euthanasia is a last resort, but it is unfortunately a necessary last resort more often than anyone wants. I have spoken with some of the Animal Services staff. Euthanasia is very traumatic for them. And so euthanasia doesn't just impact the animals, but as an advisory board member, one of my concerns is how it impacts staff. Because whether or not we keep staff determines whether or not our neighborhoods are safe to walk. Because in a large part of the city, there are massive problems with stray dogs, making it unsafe for folks to walk in their neighborhoods. So keeping those animal control officers on staff and able to do their job is crucial for public safety. The 2 primary goals of Animal Services are public safety and animal welfare. And it's a big challenge to kind of meet both of those objectives. But so with that said, there are a lot of serious animal people in the community, and I'm one of them. I mean, I just found out this afternoon, about an hour ago, that my cat's gonna need a colonoscopy, and it's like, it's not do we do it, it's how do we do it? I mean, most of us love our animals enough to go to great lengths for them. So there's a lot of people who pay close attention to the euthanasia rate, which is understandable and fine. People have been asking questions. So this is one of the topics from the last advisory board meeting about why the numbers, the euthanasia rate numbers and the intake numbers this year differ from those in previous years. And what it is Lieutenant Purcell, who is the police lieutenant over Animal Services, he has gone through and figured out where are kind of the areas of confusion in our statistics and how do we clear those up so that they make sense from, going forward. One of the things was when an animal has had to be euthanized to be a rabies specimen, because if they're going to test an animal for rabies, they can't do it when the animal's alive. Those specimens were coming in and being listed as euthanasias. And so that was artificially inflating the euthanasia rate. Also coming in as intakes and then being kind of dispositioned in the system as euthanasia were animals that basically were dead on arrival. And like animals that they would find in the field, like wild animals, and then Mercy Youth out in the field for obvious reasons, but those were counting against the department's euthanasia rates. So that's why if you look at the statistics, if you have any questions, we're trying to clear it up so that the only things now that count as euthanasia are actual euthanasias that happen in-house. One of the things that has changed is the philosophy under which the shelter operates. And it is now operated under a capacity of care model. Dave mentioned that retired healthcare executive. So, and as are you, so you guys are familiar with the concepts of beds in healthcare. So just like a bed is not necessarily a piece of furniture, but rather a staffed unit that can provide for care for one patient. In the Wichita Animal Shelter, they also have to consider that staffing and that capacity to care for the number of animals in the shelter. So that is one reason we're going with the Kansas State University recommendation now of keeping 25% of kennels open. That allows flexibility when there's a sudden influx, like from a hoarding case. It allows flexibility to move animals to prevent transfer of contagious disease when an animal in one hall tests positive for something. So, so keep in mind the medical capacity for care that you think of in hospitals, and the that is that same kind of idea, capacity for care in the shelter. So, as far as contagious disease, now we get to the interesting part lately. So there's this obscure statute, KSA 47-624, and it was not enforced until very recently, and basically says that a licensed animal shelter like WAS cannot transfer out any animal with anything contagious whatsoever. So what this means is the Department of Agriculture is coming in and saying, you can't transfer that puppy with parvo to a rescue for treatment and then adoption. It's saying you can't transfer that little kitten with a harmless little kitten cold out to a rescue for treatment and adoption. And so basically right now, this statute that the Department of Agriculture is enforcing is requiring, or I should say, leaving us no option other than to euthanize animals that have the most innocuous contagious diseases. Contagious diseases that don't transmit to humans or livestock, and that are easily treatable. This is something that has been a practice for 20 years. This statute, dogs and cats were added to this part of the statute, which was intended for livestock back in 2004 when there was a brucellosis outbreak at a boarding facility. We do understand the Department of Ag's concern about diseases transmitting to livestock, and we want to be able to find that balance. What enables us to save lives when they don't pose a threat to our ag industry, and what enables us to protect our ag industry. So we're working on this. The latest is we're hoping that we could get like some patchwork legislation through this session in order to kind of fix this little bit, but it's not going to happen that way. So the latest is that the Department of Ag has asked for 30 days to find a solution if they can. In 30 days, KHS, Animal Services, and the Wichita Animal Action League will then meet again with the Department of Agriculture and see what they've been able to work out. At the very least, we are looking at trying to clean up the whole legislative stuff next session. And that's going to mean revising this kind of statute as well as the Kansas Pet Animal Act. And so it's going to have to be a fairly comprehensive piece of legislation. We will need all sorts of support for both the Department of Ag and Animal Services, KHS, and the rescues, because there's obviously a lot of people are nervous about any legislation that involves animals, because agriculture is 40% of our Kansas economy. So, so this is something that at some point we may ask for support on in contacting legislators, but that's kind of the bottom line of what's happening right now. We're in a wait and see. So any questions? I don't know how long I've talked, sorry.
Perfect, 10 minutes.
You mentioned our euthanasia rate going up. Is that comparable to other areas regionally or nationally? Or are we sticking out like a?
Unfortunately, well, ours is going up now because they just had to euthanize a dog that has heartworm, for example. I mean, that's treatable. But because of this statute, and so this statute is gonna drive up our euthanasia rates. The euthanasia rate is going up across the country. Animals shelters that have considered themselves no-kill are now finding themselves in the very difficult position of having to make decisions. And there's kind of a philosophical question that is raised between different groups here in town. Do you euthanize when there's not enough space, or do you put an animal in a kennel for the rest of its life? I know that I know that I would not want my cats to be in a kennel for the rest of their lives. That's not a hard decision for me as somebody who loves my cats, like, I mean, they're my family. Yes, I have parents and sister, and their niece and nephews, but I live with my cats. So I can't imagine locking an animal up for years at a time. But that's a philosophical question. So anyway, but yeah, the overpopulation crisis, we have, like during COVID, when they canceled elective procedures, which basically meant anything that wasn't emergent, they canceled all veterinary procedures as well. And so that means that we are now dealing with the repercussions that they're not being spay and neuter procedures for about a year. So we have a massive overpopulation crisis. People have also surrendered animals in record numbers because of inflation. And once they went back to work in the office, they decided that they couldn't provide their animals with the attention that they needed. So all across the country, this is happening. Sorry, that was more than you wanted.
No, that's perfect.
I do have a question. This might be getting into your data, like right within a rate. How many preventable euthanasias could Wichita surpass if we could switch this for cases such as like heartworm, or something a little bit like kennel cough?
On this statute, just looking at January and February, we could look at an increase in euthanasia of over 50%.
So for our community, how many animal individuals would that be?
January and February are some of our lowest months for all numbers. And we were talking about 50 animals per month in that would have been euthanized if the statute had been enforced in January and February. So that's, like I said, our lowest months. So I don't know, with this situation, and that was before kitten season. And we're hitting kitten season like hard. So, and pretty much every kitten that enters the shelter gets a cold.
Just wanted to make that.
Yeah. Lieutenant Purcell has like projections that I could look up and get back to you if you want. They're hard numbers. I'm gonna be very honest. It is, this is not good.
I agree. It's something uncomfortable, but I think it's something that we need to identify and collectively collaborate on this problem. And so I think without the sheer numbers and probably shock factor for our community, we're not gonna get that needle moving forward unless we get the buy-in from everybody.
Well, and part of the challenge is recognizing that we need to be working with KDA and that we need to be maintaining those relationships. We also need to maintain relationships with the legislature, and we need to recognize that they are under pressure, not just from pet animal folks, but ag folks, and respect that there are valid arguments on both sides and that this is going to be a long, deliberate process to resolve this. And yeah. If you want information to share, my Facebook profile, Elaine Stephen, no S in the back end. There's a public post that is should be pretty close to the top with some of the latest video of the little jelly bean kittens. But
Thank you.
any other questions? Anybody having stray animal issues in their neighborhood? we do tend to be pretty fortunate as a district that we have fewer of those issues. We also, as a district, tend to have fewer bites and attacks than any other district.
Thank you, Elaine, very much for being here and for a very thorough report. Thank you very much. All right, moving right along, that takes us to the staff report section of tonight's agenda. First up is our police department report, Officer Atanda. Well, welcome to the front of the room, sir.
So you're gonna see Patrol East?
Did,
Did it have a basement?
the,
No basement? Was there a gym? Somebody told me.
our workout place, yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. I heard it's supposed to be, Patrol West is supposed to be just like it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you actually have,
No basement though.
have your own office.
Wow.
You
So
made
it was pretty big.
It's pretty big, really big.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm Officer Atondo. I'm with the Community Policing Patrol West team. And I cover the areas of 16 beat and 17 beat. 16 beat's probably what this group is probably more interested in. So I grabbed some stats that we will just cover, and then I got a couple of other little issues that we'll go over. So for the past 28 days on 16 beat, there have been no homicides, no rapes, one robbery. There was a gas station that was robbed within this last month. 4 aggravated assaults, 2 burglaries, believe it or not. 30 larcenies, 4 auto thefts. We have, that area kind of covers those apartments all around Central and Ridge area. So whenever there's, high numbers of auto thefts, we always get put on the map for that. 8 simple assaults and 9 fraud cases. And the rest of the, other crimes, I didn't figure you guys were really interested in those, so I didn't cover those. Anybody have any questions about that? About the stats at all? No? One thing I wanted to cover was we did our Second Chance Thursday, and that's something that was kind of developed from Patrol West. The guys on the team thought of that idea, and it came from during the pandemic. The jail did not want certain types of warrants, just petty type of traffic warrants. So they let officers have these forms where we had a date and we could push out there. We clear the warrant. We had contact with some citizen and they happen to have a warrant. We would clear that date and push their date for another time in the future where they promised to show up for that court date. And basically it's that program. We cleared 92 warrants. We had over 240 citizens. Something I didn't mention, it was over at Carl Brewer Center at 16th and Wabash. We advertised it for a good month before with media. And we had a really good turnout. It was a good deal. When we first started doing it, it was just the police department, but now we're partnered with several other organizations and departments. One of them is the Kansas Driver's License Department. They try to get people back their driver's license. One thing that kind of associated with traffic warrants is having a suspended driver's license. So they had 123 people that contacted them, and they were able to get 10 citizens back their driver's license. So it's a really popular program. There's also a program in Spanish where people that are citizens here but are not able to take the standard driver's license class. It's done in Spanish, so we provide that for them. And there's also another program where any convicted felon, there's programs where they can get any kind of work. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it. But it's anybody that's convicted of coming out of incarceration, they are able to get additional training, any kind of technical type of services, and that's provided free for them. So there was some interest in that also. We had an incident happen last Thursday where a gentleman was hit by a vehicle over Kellogg and Dugan area. And actually, I don't know if he actually passed away, but he was in serious condition at the time. And about 2 weeks ago, I opened up what's called a traffic complaint, a note complaint for that area. And it's an area where it's focused area of Kellogg and Dugan. And people crossing the highways, crossing any kind of pedestrian violations. We've been trying to focus on that and issuing citations and trying to prevent citizens hop on the highway. Believe it or not, they'll do that during the day or at night sometimes. And I think that was the deal with this situation on Thursday. I think it was early Thursday morning. So we're working on that, and we also got a special assignment coming up where we had a high number of larcenies, and we have a team of officers in undercover cars, and they'll got binoculars, they'll set off an area, and we can move that team around. We're gonna start over by Kellogg and Dugan area, the shopping area, the retail stores, but we can move it up to 21st and Maze Road and cover those areas. We'll have undercover vehicles. And as somebody trying to break into a vehicle, we'll call that out and give a description of who that person is, swoop in and make an arrest on them. So we're working on those programs, and I believe that's all I got for you guys. Anybody have any questions at all?
You said that there was a program that helps individuals who are convicted felons or recently released.
Yes.
To get free technical services to improve their employment opportunities.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Can you send me additional information?
I sure will.
I appreciate it.
And I had I had the name, I cannot think of their information, but I have the lady information in my emails. I'll get it to you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity for people that are trying to have a second chance. And so, yeah, there was a lot of interest in that, and there's free money provided for that. Welding, any kind of construction type of work or mechanical type of work, and we can get them hooked up.
Any other questions?
All right, well, thank you guys.
Thank
Thank you for having me.
Bet.
I'm off to my next meeting.
I know you are. My neighborhood.
All right. Battalion Chief Jones, you're up. Fire Department report, sir.
Sir.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Jason Jones with the Fire Department. I worked over at Tyler and 16th-ish area, battalion chief for basically west of the Big Ditch, north to south. So no fires in this Dep 5 area this year, or this since June, or since this 2/23. So that's good news. We did have a small fire. I still think it's Dep 4 area at Maple and Maze today. Accidental small fire in duplexes over there just north of Maple off of Maze.
That's us.
Huh?
That's us.
Yeah, is that you guys?
Just barely.
Just north, you guys are just north of Maple, right?
North Maple, yeah.
Yeah, so, so good news there. I think, I haven't seen it come out yet. Usually it's in the news. Typically April is a non-burning month because they're gonna burn off the Flint Hills. That should be coming out. I'm surprised it didn't come out today, but, just have that, be aware of that. We did receive, 3 new apparatus in the fire department, 2 engine companies and a ladder company, which is called a truck company. They are located on basically east side of town. One's at Lincoln Rock. One, the ladder and the engine are both down at Hydraulic and Dinker down there, South City, which of course used to be down there. Had an old fire truck. Although we did also get new Tahoes for the battalion chiefs. So there's 4 of the new Tahoes. They're like the police Tahoes, but they're red. So those are much appreciated. And we were in F-150 before that. And so these are a little bit more outfitted towards the command and control of the scene than what we had before. We have, like for us on the west side, we have additional scanner where we can pick up the radio traffic from the airport tower to the crash trucks when we go out to the airport for an incoming emergency on an airplane. So
before we were kind of like in the dark on that. So, although we do have a large response out there. Anything else? We just graduated 10 new recruits that became full-fledged firefighters this past month. And the department has put on several new people. We are right around a little under 500, I think, on the floor as firefighters. So very good on the staffing. Obviously, spoke at that board. They're looking at a new firehouse at Pawnee and Mays, which is a pretty underserved area. And I think they're also looking at one here on the North Ridge corridor as well. So not a lot of call volume up here, but we have space response issues. So as far as time, but call volume and time on the Southwest, and then more of a time thing up here. So does anyone have any questions or concerns that I might be able to help with? Okay, well, it's an easy bunch tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you all very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, that takes us to our public library report. Tracy, we see you waiting patiently on Zoom. Over to you.
Hi, guys. The first thing that I want to do is do an update on the Westlink expansion and remodel project. So in March, basically what they did is they started doing the metal framing for the existing interior. So now, like, we've got the metal framing for our staff spaces. We've got the metal framing for our big meeting room that's going to allow us to have a lot larger program activities. They laid the pad for our additional 7,000 square inches of space. And then they also, square inches, that wouldn't be very big. Square feet of space. And they also started to build the walls of the perimeter. So that's kind of what they accomplished in terms of the remodel and expansion. Last month, I mentioned that the library had added a new collection to our Library of Thanes that we were incredibly excited about, and they are called Tony's. And within a week, we had an incredibly high hold rate on those. And just as a reminder, they're like little square boxes that act as kind of like radios for children. And basically they have these little figures that you put on top, and whatever figure you put on top actually dictates the story or songs, etc. But they are for children. But our hold rate was wonderful. And so what they did is they actually purchased more of those. And then also the community was asking for little Tony sets, little character sets to actually go with their own Tony boxes. And so the library invested in that. So with our boxes, the most popular topic, understandably, Disney princesses with over 30 holds. But then also there's like a National Geographic Kids that's really popular. But then with the individual character sets, they added 29 different character sets. Those are not as in high demand as actually the Tony boxes. So we have that. Another thing that I wanted to mention, and it's just like a little teaser, is that on April 10th on the library social media, we'll be announcing a new Library of Thanes collection that we're adding to the library. So the library's on Facebook and Instagram. So hopefully you are following us in those places, because on April 10th, they're going to be making a big announcement on something that we're adding that I've been asking for quite a while. So I'm incredibly excited. I do want to also let you know, we try and promote different resources we have. We have a ton of fabulous resources at the Wichita Public Library. In April, one of the things that we're focusing on is LinkedIn Learning, which is an awesome resource that has over 16,000 free classes that you can take online on different job skills, technology, creative skills, etc. And if you have a Wichita Public Library, you can utilize those LinkedIn Learning classes. But if you don't have a Wichita Public Library card, then it is time that you get one so that you can enjoy LinkedIn Learning. And then the final thing that I wanted to mention is soon we will start our pre-registration for our summer reading program. That actually will start May 6th, Monday, May 6th. That's the pre-registration for it. That is our reading incentive program for birth all the way up to age 17. We have 3 different programs typically, and it's just trying to either encourage the development of reading skills or encourage them maintaining reading skills over the summer. And so that's what I wanted to share with you this evening. Does anybody have any questions?
Tracy, I don't see any in the room. Thorough as always. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you so much. You guys have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, Reggie, you want to bring us home with the Parks and Rec update?
Reggie. So Reggie Davidson with the Parks and Rec Department. So if you guys have your cell phones with you, I'm actually pick them up for us. We actually launched our new Parks and Rec app today. So you can actually download it today and look at it and see all of the great things that we're doing in the department. So I know Councilman Johnson mentioned earlier about some of the things that we're doing with some of our CIP projects. We actually have a section on our app and on the web page that you can actually look at the different CIP projects that are coming up. Has it in different categories where it's identified, initiated, in progress, and completed. So it gives you a complete overview of all of those projects that we're working on within the department and where they are in different stages, as well as the dollars that are allocated for each of those projects as well. So we can keep the community informed on what we're doing with that. Good. So looking forward to the summer. One of the big things that we're really pushing right now, we did open up our pool registrations today, so people can actually start buying pool membership passes. We're in the process of bringing on more lifeguards and doing training. We're working with the school district and looking at options that we can actually use indoor space there at their pools for some of our training. So Northwest and some of the other locations that are here in the area may be sites that we can do some lifeguard training and certification, as well as getting opportunity to train some of the school district staff as well with some of our people who are able to do those certification classes in the community and be able to offer some of those things to them at no cost. So we can kind of leverage either of our skills to expand services to the community. We're also planning for our summer camps that are opening up. We have the 6 locations that are open this summer. Each of those sites will be our summer meal programs in partnership with the school district. So any young person that's 18 years and younger can go there and get a meal during the summer at no cost as part of that partnership. And we still have scholarships that are available for young people who need to qualify for participating in those programs. And we're doing hiring for that as well. So any lifeguards that you know are in the community that want to work here right in District 5, Harris Pool is hiring here in the community, as well as our other 5 pools that we have also. So exciting time frame, just preparing for the summer and getting young people out active and involved in things that we're doing and preparing for the close of the school year. And I'll stand for any questions that you guys have, just kind of a brief overview of some of the things that we're doing.
I have splash parks.
Yes,
opening.
splash parks are opening as well. Our pools are scheduled to open Memorial Day weekend. We're hoping to get the splash pads open probably 2 to 3 weeks prior to that. And we're also hiring for staff for that as well. Our aquatics manager's doing a really good job. We're retaining a lot of the staff from the previous year. So that's always a challenge for everyone in the community, and not only our community, but nationwide. We're getting lifeguards in, so we're trying to be really creative with some of the things that we're doing there and getting people in early and putting extra effort in retaining staff, keeping good people on board. Yes, sir.
On the splash park, so you did maintaining that better?
We are. One of the biggest things that we've had a challenge with that is we've had experienced a lot of problem with vandalism. So that's one of the things that we're addressing and trying to be a little bit more, active with having more people there and checking them on a regular basis. We have a team that will go around and check them every morning to open them, as well as checking the evening time frame, so we can kind of address things when they come up, so that way we can have a minimal amount of time that they're down with problems with them not working the way they should.
The one downtown, park downtown?
Central Riverside?
Yeah, they had a lot of trouble with that last year.
We did. One of the things that we had a big issue with there is that unfortunately we have of a group of unhoused individuals that are there in the area that is being used for a purpose it's not necessarily intended for. And we have a lot of the pavers and things that were being stolen and destroyed there in the area. So we're looking at some different ways that we can better secure those items so that we don't have problems with them going into this year. So we do have some dollars designated to make some improvements to some of those splash pads, as well as to some of our bathhouses that are identified as well.
Any other questions?
Download the app.
Yes. All right, there you go. Thank you very much, Reggie. All right, that concludes our staff reports this evening. I would entertain a motion to receive and file all of the staff reports.
So moved.
There's a second. Second. Right, any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, one item under new business this evening in regard to citizen engagement and information here from the communications department is Tyler Schipelbein. Tyler, show is yours, sir.
It's all right with all of you. Good evening, everyone. I'm gonna break this up into 3 sections. I think it'd probably be easier to take each topic individually than talk about everything at the end and take questions. So first, we're gonna talk about public comment at council meetings. Council member, do you wanna kind of set this up, kind of the background of what we're doing here before I go, or you?
Just go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. The point is, the council and Mayor Wu want to get the community more engaged and find different ways to do that economically. So that's really the background of it, the point of it. So we're looking at different ways to do that.
And I think how this kind of started, and it's a little bit confusing with the PowerPoint, but it started initially looking at public comment at the beginning of the meeting, where you can sign up in advance, and I think you can have up to 5 speakers. And then, so they wanted to look at that, and then they also wanted to get feedback on just comment on agenda items as well, but I think the initial ask was a public comment, so.
Just so you know, you can go to request 5 minutes. You can go talk about the sky should be pink and blue and purple and green and yellow if you want to for 5 minutes. Or you can sit there and be quiet like a speaker did last week for 3.5 minutes. So.
Yeah, so currently, I'm gonna start off with a comment on agenda items, because that's kind of what the PowerPoint, what they talked about first, and then I'll talk about public comment at the beginning. So it's in city code right now, you talk on agenda items as outlined, so the staff will make a presentation. Council can ask questions, and then they open it up for public comment. Everybody can come up and speak once on that item for up to 5 minutes. So, and then there's no limit to how many items you can speak on in a meeting. So you can speak on all the items if you want to. So, I'll talk about the second bullet later. So, yeah, can you go to the next slide, please? So we did a study and kind of looked at some of our comparison cities, see what they're doing. Kansas City doesn't allow public comment. I think they have it at some of their committee meetings in advance, but they don't do public comment on agenda items. Neither do they do public comment on just signing up in advance for open to any comment. Wichita and Kansas City do not require you to sign up in advance, but some of those others do. And then Wichita and Tulsa allow for 5 minutes. Can you go to the next? So you can just see how many minutes each one of them lets you speak on agenda items. So I think go to the next slide. So when it comes to public comment for the beginning of the meeting, Wichita, you have to sign up a week in advance, and we can have up to 5 speakers. It can be no longer than 30 minutes total for that agenda. I think we've gone past that. And then you can only speak one time, like every month. Once a month. Yeah, once a month. So that's kind of the basis behind that. We were looking at some of the other cities that we looked at. Oklahoma City, I think all the other cities in the region did it at the end of the meeting instead of the beginning of the meeting. They got all the city's business done first, and then the public comment where you could speak on anything you want. I think we were the only one that did it at the beginning of the meeting. Oklahoma City did it where they don't even have to have council members there. They can appoint a representative to show up and listen to them for you. I think that's kind of weird, but, and then I think Omaha was another one. They said we have enough other avenues for public comment that they just didn't have that open comment period. So there's no financial considerations, and any changes can go to the next slide, please. yeah, anything would have to be approved by, or comply with the First Amendment. So any questions, comments on public comments at council meetings? There.
Plenty, in my view, it's probably one of the lowest impact forms of civic engagement or community engagement that you can have. It's necessary and mandatory, right? But a lot of times at that juncture, right? And I'm not saying this is 100% of the time, but whether it's my friend JV here or his colleagues on the bench, many of them are already gonna have either a decision in their head or a pretty clear direction on the policy that they're considering. I would encourage you guys to do anything and everything you can from an efficiency perspective. I don't know that I would recommend removing it at all. And just me personally speaking, I'm less concerned. I always appreciate the benchmarking of what other regional metros do. I'm less concerned about what anybody else is doing and like how Wichita can strive to do big, bold, best in class civic engagement, right? And we've been governing for a while, right? Like governance isn't new. Oftentimes we have a pretty good idea, not all the time, of where citizens are really gonna have some ample feedback. And if you don't prior to, you'll certainly have it afterwards. And so is there an opportunity for mechanisms outside of the meeting to aggregate citizen feedback? And I think of, this isn't without cost, right? But I think of the way the city engaged the leadership center when it came to the non-discrimination ordinance 2-3 years back, right? To foster a more trustworthy citizen engagement process. I understand that fiscally, that's probably not something that you could do all the time, but maybe you reserve it for issues that really require a level of engagement beyond normalcy. Either way, I just think whether it's 2, 3, 5 minutes in front of a bench isn't the highest impact way of civic engagement.
I agree with that too, but I'm a lifelong resident of Wichita. Born here and left here for a little while, came back. And one of the things I've noticed is there's very little transparency in government. What goes on in City Hall happens during the day. A lot of people work there, so they don't get involved in the city. There needs to be something. I just found out about the district advisory boards last month. Okay, meeting last month, but there needs to be more outreach to the people. Right now, give them 3 minutes, 5 minutes. The city council meeting, we might have five people talk.
5 spot per week. Yep.
Yeah, per week, and then they can't talk for another month. But there's a lot of people that work during the day, they can't make it to those meetings. They don't watch them on the YouTube or wherever it is on Facebook.
Yeah, I want to clarify before we get too far. That 5 minutes and the only 5 per week, that's on the sign up in advance where you can talk about anything you want. There's no limit to amount of speakers on agenda items. So I just want to clarify that part of it. Yep.
But still, you got a lot of people that work during the day. They can't make it to those meetings. They have an opinion, but they can't voice it to anybody. There's no place for them to go.
We are having one night meeting a quarter. So we had one. 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, we got done at 10:45, which is about an hour past my bedtime.
But nobody knows about this. I didn't know about that.
Trying to get the word out
about those. I want to talk to you offline after this and get some feedback and thoughts, because our next one is talking about communication and how we're reaching out. So I want to talk to you after this and get some ideas on what you think. And maybe after the next presentation, we'll talk about that some more. So.
And you might want to express to some of the city departments about reaching out to the public and being a little more respectful to them too.
Let's talk on that afterwards too. I want to know what that is, and we want to address that and make sure what's going on, we get that addressed. So, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you got it.
Me?
Yep.
Okay. I would just like to put it out there that while obviously everybody's time is limited, obviously we want government to be both responsive and accountable as much as possible. So we have to be thinking in terms of creating the opportunities for people to speak out and also creating the context where that speaking is actually relevant and useful to the decision makers and so forth. However, in the end, I would want to push back against your emphasis, Dennis, upon efficiency. I think that participation is also about legitimacy. It's about being able to say people have a forum where they can speak. And I think that that is hard to quantify. And again, it's going to be frustrating to wrestle with in terms of efficiencies. But if you don't go into arguments about how we're going to shape public participation in meetings, recognizing that making it possible for someone who is strongly concerned about something, whatever it may be, to be able to speak about that thing, even if it's not anything that anybody can act upon at the time, and even if it is in some sense a waste of time, that's still a legitimizing thing. Because if you don't have that, the alternative is, well, the alternative is exactly what you were saying, but you know, sir, that there's no place to speak. You know, it's a difficult line to walk, but let's you know, make sure that when you're talking about public participation, sometimes it's just a matter of this is what popular legitimacy requires. You got to let people talk.
Would it be possible to make public comment 3 minutes, but increase the number of people allowed to speak?
That's, again, that will be up to council to decide, but, and I'll speak here is you look at, maybe you increase the number of people who can speak and what that looks like, and you can drop, maybe you guys did vote. I think I'm gonna miss that where it's first come, first serve. And then I don't know if it's still the rule that it's once a month, but where you don't have to register in advance. But that can create its own issue. So it's finding that balance of how many people do you allow before you can get into the city council business and how long that lasts and the amount. So, and trying to make it easier so we're not registering in advance and that sort of thing. So that's for them to decide and what options and what that looks like. So we're trying to get feedback. So,
Just thinking 5 minutes is a long time. and
yeah.
3 minutes might allow more people.
Yeah. I mean, some people can speak in 3 minutes, others can't. I've seen a lot of meetings and since I've been there since 2008, but then there are others that they need a little more time. So I don't know what the best option looks like. So.
Sir. Complicated. But I think it kind of echo a little bit of what Russell's saying is that I don't think it's as much necessarily about information gathering for the council as it is being transparent and open and giving people the feeling that they do have the opportunity to have their input into it. So I agree that having the ability to speak at the council meetings is important, even though you're probably right that it may be the least effective, but it is the most public and feels the best from a public participation standpoint to be able to stand there face to face with the whole council and let them know your views. I think there's clearly an issue with whether or not there is in fact a problem of listening. There is an appearance that in a lot of ways of lack of transparency, lack of ability to have input and that sort of thing. And so I think council doing anything right now to appear to restrict that would be problematic for the council. One thing that may help from the standpoint of the transparency and the communication is to do things a little more in advance. For example, one of the agenda items on the council meeting as far as the legal publications. But you're just now having the DAB meeting tonight about it. I mean, that kind of gives the appearance that it doesn't make a lot of difference what is said tonight for the vote tomorrow. And some of the DAB meetings are not even until, next week. And I'm not saying, not speaking to the reality of it, I'm just speaking to the appearance of it as a thing.
I think there's 4 of them tonight.
Yeah.
2 of them.
Yeah.
Within the next week.
Yeah.
I will tell you that I have been swayed by a speaker on agenda item.
Okay.
Good for you, man. So I have
Yeah.
actually changed my mind and voted a different way, so
Mhm.
it does matter.
Well, and that's great.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
But you're right, to your point, most of the time you do have an idea how you're gonna vote. But hopefully I keep an open mind and when you do viewpoint, changes my mind.
My point was actually kind of the opposite. Regardless of how actually effective it is, it feels better from a public standpoint to be able to get up there and speak.
I'll echo what you were saying there. Over the years, I've seen lots of instances where someone comes up and speaks and, okay, we need to defer this for a week to get more information. So it does happen quite a bit. But I don't think there's any appetite to restrict public comment, but they were wanting to open it up more. But by doing that, what's that look like and what effect does that have? So what we're talking public comment, not on agenda items, is do we strip the restriction to sign up, or do we add people? What's that look like? If we add people, does that make the meeting longer? Do we need to get staff back to work? Do we put it at the end of the meeting? So those are all the things we're trying to get feedback on and balance what that looks like, not restricting the comment.
It may be just a matter of communication.
Yeah.
But I can legitimately see how the whole, the council meeting where this was brought up and the whole process raised a lot, legitimately, I think, well, reasonably, let's put it that way, raised a lot of concern about exactly what the intent was, but comparison to the other cities that all showed less public comment and nobody in the meeting said, oh, well, great, unless, we don't need to, I don't want to go down. I'm gonna, I was looking at maybe going up. There was no explanation of what the origin of it was, except at the meeting after there was some objection to it. So like I said, it may be just a matter of the communication. But it is clearly something that from a public relations standpoint, the council needs to be aware of and bend over backwards, not to give any reason for it.
We'll have an issue about publications tomorrow. We'll discuss the reading publications.
It's on the agenda item tomorrow.
My question is, why do that? What should be, who reads the Eagle?
We'll get back. We'll get back to that when that's our last.
You just opened a big can of worms. Yeah. Oh, what Tyler made it up for. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Tyler, why don't you go ahead? All right.
So this next one, I don't know if you saw this article that was written and it kind of misquoted me in there and talked about all this sort of stuff. Said we had this fancy PowerPoint talking about how great we are. That's not what this is. We were asked to provide all the ways we communicate because there's this perception that we don't communicate. And so we are just simply reflecting on what we've done in the past, kind of what we're doing now. And we're always open for new ideas and trying new things. So not talking about how great we are, just saying what we do. So since I've been there in 2008, I was brought on for City 7, and that was the big thing back at the time, Cox Channel 7. That was our main thing before social media. Well, obviously times have changed. Now we're doing from City 7 to Facebook Live and taking Q&A through Facebook. So just the platforms have changed. Hardly anybody has Cox anymore. The subscriptions just keep going down. So our effectiveness on 7's down, but social media, COVID started, and now we're a lot more online and with what we do. Kind of with that, different platforms and social media and in general other communication strategies, they have different audiences, and the message needs to be different on each one of those platforms to connect with that audience. Because what works on on Facebook, might not work on TikTok, might not work on Twitter, might not work on LinkedIn. So we're constantly having to evaluate what our message is on what platform we are and who we're trying to reach. And also what we're looking at is who's engaging with the city and who we're trying to communicate with. So we have our very engaged residents. I'd like to think that's probably all of you. You're all here tonight. They know a lot about the city and what's going on. And then we have some people that they only want to communicate with the city when something affects them directly. And so they have no idea what we're doing until that point. And then like I joked at the council meeting a couple of weeks ago, my wife would fall into that third one, and only absolutely when she has to. And how do we reach those second and third crowds to get more involvement with city government? So I don't know if any of you have heard about this. This was our community survey. We do this every year. Kind of lines up what the community thinks of our services and where they at. So we have higher quality, high importance of what we deliver. And then we have lower quality of higher importance. So we're this year for budget, we're going to be focusing more on the lower quality, higher importance items. So I think you're going to see some of our social media town halls for budget talking about crime prevention and street maintenance. But then we also have real versus perceived. A lot of people talk about how bad the roads are here, and that's something you get all the time. And I'm not saying there aren't bad roads out there, but then you go and you compare that to Oklahoma or Colorado. And so I think it's a lot about perceived, but perception can be reality. So that's another challenge we face is, messaging some of those things. So, broadcast of council meetings, something we do. It used to be just on Channel 7. Now we have YouTube and wichita.gov. We broadcast agenda reviews on Fridays. Those are all live. We have multiple evening meetings over the years. Turnout has usually been pretty low on these meetings. Like you said, people are wanting in the evenings to be able to speak. We got a lot of criticism this last time around saying, well, why aren't you doing it in the daytime? People are eating dinner, have stuff going on. So we're hearing it from both sides. And so we're trying to find out what works best. Turnout usually goes up for high profile items. We always do a budget meeting in the evenings every year. Some years we get 2 or 3 and it's the same 2 or 3. You see it every 9 a.m. meeting. Other years, if we're looking at cuts or, major services, then we see a bit more increase in attendance. Just different outreach things, mayor, council, all have speaking engagements. They go out and talk to the community. Every Thursday, we have a mayor's briefing that we stream live and the media usually all shows up to. We have these district advisory boards, periodic district breakfast, and then everybody can direct email, talk to their council members by the phone or the community service rep. So all that stuff is listed on the website. You can get all that information there. Boards and committees, we have at least 39 boards and committees. They're all open to the public. And many of them are either live streamed like this one is now, or they record it and we upload it to YouTube. And we have different playlists for each one of those committees. I don't think all of them are recorded, but a good chunk of them are. Budget engagement, so I touched on that a little bit. Over the years, we've done workshops in the daytime and the evening. Here was one we've already done this year. In the evening at the library, we have social media town halls where we reach out to people, and it's we have like a set time frame for 2 hours where staff is in there answering questions, and then we let that go overnight, and then we can go back and follow up and answer questions with those. Had a budget simulator where people can play with the budget and kind of make a budget their own. We present at DAB meetings, council meetings, website, and then budget questions, wichita.gov. That's just a quick overview. We have several other things we do engage on the budget. Website, I know I presented to all of you on either October or November on this, so I'll be brief. I could speak for hours on the website. We list all of our emails, phone numbers. We have forms, a calendar, or I think our calendar, newsletters, and apps. You can all sign up to receive alerts. So every time we add a calendar, either an event or a public meeting, we can let notifications go out a couple days in advance, say, hey, this meeting's coming up, and you can sign up for notifications for just those events. We have an app that you can report issues, and then 14 different newsletters and email distribution list, cover notifications. Just some cool tools we have on our website. And if you don't know what district you live in, you can find out who your council member is, what district you're in. You can track the snow plows. I think that went viral. CNN picked it up recently. We've named the snow plows. We have a street sweeper map, so you can find out when your street's going to be swept next. Water outage map. You can view all the codes. If that's your thing, you want to see what codes are, you can look that up. And then CORA requests, you can always file a CORA request to get information. And then a lot of agendas and minutes. Propel is our small business loan program. Work with .wichita.gov is for business as well, if you want to do business with the city. And then we have an open data portal. Social media, we have 55 plus social media avenues, and that's just the ones that we know about in communications. I think there are a few out there that people started up didn't tell us about. We need to work on that. We do social media town halls. We've done with COVID, we really started picking this up, doing live Q&As. So Facebook or YouTube, we'll go live and then we'll have someone sitting there monitoring the chat for questions, and we'll try to answer those questions live. We've also done some Zoom call-in shows where we can take face-to-face interaction that way. We have an online tool called Forum. You can access it through forum.wichita.gov, or it's a link on wichita.gov. We have different, programs or projects that you can get on there and leave comments about and give feedback about things that are going on. Online surveys, emergency alerts. One thing we found with the last 2 water boil advisories is we had a hole in our system. We didn't have a way to alert our customers. We were thinking it was going to be through, Sedgwick County's mass alert system, but that didn't rise to the level to send that out. So we found that hole. And so now we have a system that every time there's a boil water advisory, we can send out text message, phone call, and email to all of our water customers. And then we also have signups for alerts from Sedgwick County as well. Citizen engagement, we have a Civic Engagement Academy. If none of you have taken that before, or if you have, it's great learning about local government. I encourage you to sign up for that. We also have Citizens Police and Fire Academies. We have a Mayor's Youth Council, and then we have staff that, has a presence at a lot of different events, Open Streets, Riverfest, that sort of thing, and just different neighborhood meetings, depending on different projects we have. I think first one that comes to mind, the Amadon Bridge, we did a lot of staff presentations on that one. I think we also did quite a bit. I can use one from District 5, the Patrol West substation. So WPD went out door to door, leaving flyers at neighborhood houses in the area. So town halls, talked about Patrol West, KDHE, that was on 29th and Grove. That was their thing, but we assisted them with that. So just all these different town halls we've held over the years, but we're looking to increase that and do even more. Like somebody was talking about, you were talking about reaching out in advance of items. So this is a great way to get out there and engage people out in front of items coming up. So television, media relations, that's one. We have staff, part of our job is to respond to media requests and provide them information with whatever, they're looking for. We do media briefings, advanced ribbon cuttings, that sort of thing. We'll touch on legal publications after this. So if any of you read that article I was talking about earlier, I'm not taking a shot at the media. It is just a fact. They cover some more of the negative stuff. And I used to work in journalism, so that's their job. They're supposed to hold us in check. That's what they do. So our Civic Engagement Academy, we post this slide and ask, what have you heard about? 99% of the time they say water boil advisory or change to the proposed fireworks ordinance. Most of the others have not heard about any of these other things. It's common nature. I mean, those are bigger things. They're going to get more coverage. But then how do we communicate these other things out there? Because the media, we have to rely on them quite a bit for a lot of the stuff we push out. So they're going to cover these other things more. So how do we get that information out in a better way? Influencers. So this is one thing we've started playing with a little bit, is social media influencers and pushing message to them. And then they're pushing that out. So one of the things we can reach our Hispanic community, sustainability community, parent and family influencers. I think for like some classes for Evolve for Park and Rec and Library is I think we use Wichita on the Cheap and can't remember the other one, Wichita Moms Blog. Just some different things, different ways of communicating that people might not view as us communicating, but they're still getting that message. Paid media. So this one, we don't have a very big budget in communications, so we can't do a whole lot of it. This is your TV ads, your digital ads, billboards, Google ads, social media ads, that sort of thing. You might have seen recently some stuff for Wichita.gov. We did a big promotion of the app and that the website's improved from what it was. So recruitment, just some different things we do on that, career fairs, employee vehicle, decals, speaking events, media buys for those, signage. It's another communication thing we do is, you might have seen some of these signs. I know I'm in District 4. I've seen a few out. Hey, improvements coming to your street soon. I think the current ones are black and gold. If you've seen those before, they're going to be changing. But That's just one way we're trying to let people know, hey, changes are coming. Just some other communication tools that we have. We do direct mail for certain topics. I know I was heavily involved with 29th and Grove, helping KDHE with that. Did a lot of direct mail to that neighborhood. The Bleckley flooding, we did direct mail for those. So that's a lot more costly and harder to pull off, but when it calls for it, we do direct mail. We have a call center and a chat on wichita.gov, so people can call in and ask questions. Mostly for the call center, it's water bill related, but they do answer all sorts of other questions. We've tried several podcasts throughout the years and never really took off, but we do have a Spanish speaking podcast, so it's reaching one more community in a different way. We can put communications in water bills that get sent out, business cards, flyers, messages on hold. You call in City Hall if you're on hold. In the past, we've done where we could have messaging there, and then Channel 7, which we've scaled back quite a bit over the years. And then just internal communication. One thing we're looking at doing and we're working on is sending out information to our employees, so our employees know between departments what's going on. And because it's not you're talking to someone that works for the city, like, hey, you're in Public Works, what's the police department doing? So we're trying to find ways to spread that information throughout the organization better, so that everyone knows what's going on and can answer those questions. So that's how we communicate very quickly. Try to go through it as fast as I can. So questions, comments on that?
Seems like there's a lot of avenues for people to engage, but what we're reading and what we're hearing maybe tonight is that people don't feel like they're nearly transparent. So I'm sure maybe you're still trying to grapple with this, but where's that disconnect happening at when there's so many avenues, but yet so many people feel left out?
That's what we're trying to figure out. And I think there's some different theories out there, but we can't pinpoint. So that's what these are for, is to, like, what are we doing? Where do we need to do better? So I think any comments, questions, concerns you have, ideas, we'd love to hear it. So, yeah.
I know one area that we hear on Animal Services Advisory Board that is a very big perceived lack of transparency is our meetings are not on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how to go about getting those on YouTube, since the police department kind of.
Yeah, they're in charge of that, and we're working on getting those online. So
Awesome.
I don't know if they'll be live. I think we're working on live, but last I knew they were being recorded and uploaded to WPDs.
Nothing's being uploaded right now. And so we hear about that constantly. The other question I had was on the boil water advisories. What do those of us who live in apartments do?
So that's the challenge. So do you have a water bill that you pay through the city, or is
Not
it
through the city, because the complex,
the complex pays it?
yeah.
So that's where we also online, I guess I should have touched on this. You can sign up for emergency alerts on wichita.gov. And so we have a separate system. It's not the best. The way all of our systems work, we can't put everybody into that list of water customers, just for privacy reasons. So you can sign up for emergency alerts on this other one. We'll send notifications out there as well as the Sedgwick County. So really, you could get blasted with 3 or 4 different calls if you signed up for all those, and you were a water customer. Yep.
Just a comment on social media.
Mhm.
I'm pushing 80.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not involved in social media.
Yeah.
So you talk about Facebook, Twitter.
It's now X, but yeah.
One of those.
Yeah, I can't keep up.
I mean, I'm not involved in this stuff.
And that's one of the challenges we face is, that's just one tool. That's not an end all be all. We got to find different ways and not just put all our eggs in that one basket.
In my neighborhood, I'm probably the youngster. So they're not on social media.
Yeah.
I saw a question in the back.
Yep.
Hi, I started writing a newsletter about a year ago on just environmental things going on in Wichita, right? I've worked very hard on it. And it is just basically trying to make people aware of environmental issues. I've been trying to go to the Sustainability Integration Board each month. I didn't even know about the district advisory board meetings until about a year ago, and which is really kind of weird. I don't know why it didn't. And when I started writing the newsletter, what I realized is that there's a lot of decisions being made in our city with nobody in the room from the public. Look at this. And it really is bothersome to me for the lack of citizens that are coming in here. Like I said, I'm trying to do my best to let people know that there's a water rebate, that there's a boil, that there's green algae, and where to find that.
One thing that I would want to emphasize about her newsletter, which is really wonderful, is that she just sends it out by email. You know, I mean, she works to build a database of interested people and then she spams them. It's the same sort of logic. I mean, people say, oh man, nobody reads those flyers that come in the mail. They just got all thrown away. But why do people spend so much money sending out those flyers? Because they know that actually there are a lot of people who pick them up and they read them. A lot of people read the email. So, I mean, obviously all of these are just one tool. Let's just, not forget that, standbys like email or Indeed mailing stuff out. That's always going to be necessary to capture at least part of the population, the part that maybe isn't on social media.
And it can't all be on social media, just for that reason. My Facebook page disappeared last week for my environmental group. I don't know why. Nobody gave me a reason why, particularly Facebook, but it disappeared. And so it's just a reminder that you can't rely on social media being your voice. The other problem with social media, it shows up 3 days after the event happens regularly. So it does have to be more encompassing. And I do want to say my open rate on my emails is 60%. And that's pretty darn good.
It's really good. Yeah, and so that reminds me, make sure you're signing up for a District 5 newsletter.
I have.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, and one thing we touched about social media and getting the notifications later is social media, or Facebook anyway, is now limited government and political speech. So, where we before were hitting maybe 3% of our followers, people that have signed up to like our page, now it's even less because Facebook is deemed it political and they're trying to cut that.
I just want to mention that I looked on Facebook and there's 3 people watching this meeting and one's me.
You're watching on
I
Facebook?
turned it on to see in a minute it says one more person came on, so that was me.
Tyler, I just want to offer that, first of all, I appreciate ever so often, every couple of years, you guys have these robust conversations to seek out ways to enhance and innovate your engagement. So that I always appreciatory on that aspect of it. But I also want to offer the caveat of, I think that you guys, from a well-rounded perspective, I think you do an amazing job, your entire city staff, in terms of communication, in terms of seeking out engagement. Because one thing I will say is that you can push as much as you want, but there's still a responsibility on the citizenry to want to be connected, to want to get engaged, to want to be a part of these processes. So again, I appreciate and I respect the fact that you guys have these conversations every couple of years, and I think that they are warranted and they are certainly relevant. And I know that you guys will take it as a push of discouragement with the numbers, but I just want to encourage you to stay encouraged, because I do think that you guys do a well-rounded job of what you have. And sometimes, regardless of how much you push information out there, unless it's just a hot button issue, folks they're not gonna show up. Just like the issue of the council meeting when they were always in the mornings, and that I remember a couple years back when there weren't any in the evenings. Then you guys had some in the evenings and nobody was showing up to the ones in the evenings. So, and then you kind of go back in this balancing act of where do we go? And I think where do you go is you just keep doing what you're doing,
Right.
and find innovational ways to expound and expand. But I think that you guys have a phenomenal base that you're reaching and hitting what you want to accomplish in the outset.
I second that.
And I third, yep.
Yes, so I'll be quick. I don't know any additional ways you guys can communicate. I mean, I see your postings everywhere. The one thing I do enjoy, I love Megan Lovely's commentary on absolutely everything from the snow plows to the Facebook commenting she makes, to the street signs. I don't know if that was a part of her brainchild or whatever it was, but the amusing street signs that we had up, like "Have no fear, new asphalt is here." You know what I mean? They were just quippy, fun. They weren't so serious. They were just engaging ways to get people's attention. And I love that. I love our snow plows. Like, that was a huge hit, but I second what Lamont said. I don't know how you guys can engage any more than you already do.
It's hard to make government fun.
Yeah.
It really is.
I agree, but I think people, especially like myself, I can't speak for everyone. For myself, it's one of those things where you watch this and you're saying, what's the use? They've already made up their mind. Like tomorrow, they'll be discussing different things, more about the newspaper, stuff like that. And I think that the city council has already made up their mind, so why go there and discuss it when it's not gonna do any good? You're just wasting your time. It's like the old saying, don't confuse me with the facts, I've already made up my mind.
Do you have anything else?
I do have a comment.
Okay.
Perception, and with that, I'd love to compliment your social media and marketing and brand awareness. It's very thorough, and we're seeing a lot of faces in our Wichita community and less text. Just like what you're saying, we have a sense of humor and we have a sense of friendliness in Wichita. I think one thing that we could maybe focus on a little bit better is those individual issues and not so blanketed, calling them out and saying, hey, this is coming up at your DAB 5 meeting. Here's your date, here's your time, just a reminder, those kind of communications. But I would like to say, like, it is absolutely lovely that we're all here this evening. I will say something that is not super crazy, but I think you're probably the youngest one in the room, and we don't have representation across the board for ages and demographics. I mean, holy cow, people being a white lady sitting here, I'm like, wow, this is sad. So there also has to be some accountability on us as DAB members and you guys to say, hey, neighbor, you've never been to this, come join us. Because the website is very robust and very easy to navigate. And then you guys do a great job on LinkedIn, Facebook. I think Rachel has a very good point. There isn't much more that you can do in your social media and analytics. I think it's more of like our community participation and how do we incentivize that? So.
No, I appreciate those comments. So the reason we do this is to make sure we're not missing anything. You know, you said you're not on social media. We're trying to find out, and I'll talk to you after this. How can we reach people with the tools we have? So that's, we constantly want to be improving and find what ways we can expand.
Grace just made me think of something. What, like, if the district advisory board agendas were to be either shared by apartment complexes, because they send emails, or like just posted on each apartment complex bulletin board. I mean, I've lived in my complex 15 years, and there are a lot of people in my complex that I'm sure would be here if they knew about it.
I don't want
So I can
to
take
speak
advantage
to
of that.
adding work. I mean, I think if we could send it to them, it's whether they would post it or not. I don't want to just give our CSRs extra work to go around and do all that, but that's something I think we would be open to. if
It's
we
just a
get that-
thought
Get that
that I'm
contact.
saying while I'm thinking about it.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Not directly related to this, but sort of percolating. A lot of the council members, Brian, after the council meeting, did a Facebook post. Here's what we did at the council meeting. It was just a short, simple statement of what the agenda items were. I was thinking earlier, when you post the agenda on Facebook, but the agenda is very complicated and has a whole lot of garbage on it. Even like and a lot of them are the planning cases that have completely indecipherable explanations of what the planning case is. But Brian did a good job of explaining what was done after the case. After the fact, what about having a city post of what the agenda, a short, simple statement of what the real agenda items are, beforehand. And maybe the same with the DAP agenda items. In addition to staff reports, we'll hear, want to get input on the communication, or something like that. And I say Facebook posts, but that could apply to all the different platforms.
She's gonna pull up Wichita Like. So we do a short little recap of the council meeting. It's not a video, but
Yeah, I know. What I was saying to do it beforehand.
oh, dude, what's coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's what I was talking about. That's for a little, well, maybe not as what you do, but like I said, when I was most familiar with what Fry sent out in his Facebook post. Maybe you guys generated that in the first place.
Yeah, if you scroll down to where the council members are, I like the idea of doing something in advance. Keep going down.
I'd rather get feedback up front.
Right.
Yeah.
And report what happened.
Yeah.
I'd rather get that feedback.
And then, is it I really don't know all the process other than, I do know, is it possible to do it any earlier than the Friday? Set the agenda.
It's
about when they said it.
Yeah.
Well, I know that's when they did, is it? I know there's a lot of issues involved in that, but that doesn't, suppose a Friday afternoon for a Tuesday meeting doesn't give a lot of time for input.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's something we've wrestled with, but I think sometimes we don't have all the agenda items until Thursday night.
Is it?
I mean, set deadline.
Yeah, is that necessary to have the proper functioning of the government, or, can you give us more time? I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't speak to that.
Yeah.
Real well. I'm not behind that decision, but what I do know is there are certain items that they come up quick and they have to be decided on quickly because we can't sit on it for 3 or 4 weeks. Other things, I think it's possible.
There's a difference between 3 days and 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, yeah, I know, but
yeah,
give them too much. So,
yeah.
Teresa, could you click on one of those recaps over there to the side? Yeah. So after the meeting, usually we have someone watching the meeting and we'll just kind of give a recap. Okay, this item was approved by this much. So afterwards, but yeah, I think what you're talking about, if we can get something shorter like this before you.
And you can sign up to receive that via email.
Yeah,
as well.
so yeah, there is somewhere on there you can sign up to. Well, I'm looking at, but yeah, you can sign up to receive alerts of this item. So as soon as we post it, you can get notification. So
Maybe, JV, you want to spend your $150,000 on something else, you need to pay the paper to publish the agenda Saturday morning or Sunday.
They don't have a paper on Saturdays.
That's right. Then we get the Sunday paper
Well,
on
no, we
Saturday.
don't have, we don't have a paper on
Sunday
Sunday,
paper.
we have it on Saturday.
Sunday paper, which is produced on Friday.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
even
true,
Thursday,
all
even
that,
Thursday.
all that's true, yes.
On Sunday, yeah.
Yes, that is a problem too, yes.
Tyler, do you have any other information you want?
on this, no.
Anything?
If you want me, I can talk all night.
No, I want to get to another topic.
Yeah, over to you.
Is that all right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. It is true. Tomorrow, we do have an agenda item about publishing legal notices in the Wichita Eagle. We're spending about $150,000 a year publishing those legal notices in the Wichita Eagle. I'll give you a couple facts. The Eagle on their own site, their media kit, they only give 2 numbers of circulation numbers. They give their Saturday printed circulation, 7,772. It's probably end of last year. Wednesday, which is the second largest paper because of the grocery ads. Huh?
That aren't there anymore.
Aren't there anymore, yeah. 6,330. So they don't give the rest of the days public circulation. So that's total circulation of printed paper that's mailed. So to take the Wichita Eagle, it's over $1,500 a year. You can call and get a discount a lot of times, but I don't know how many people do that or not. But, so anyway, I'd like to hear comments from the board and then from the public.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If I don't run a proxy, can I access these articles right now without a subscription? Yes, they're
Yes.
public, okay.
Well,
Yes,
you can't
you,
through
you can.
to the library.
Excuse me.
No, the Wichita Eagle on their website has to allow these to be posted in front of the firewall, so you don't have to pay to see the publications,
The legal,
But you-
the legal notices.
the legal notices. They're also on our website here, and through the library, you can go and look at the Wichita Eagle through the library.
So you're telling me 3 avenues right now where I
Three
could
avenues.
access them?
So you can, well, sort of, because the library is just showing you the Wichita Eagle, the copy of the Wichita Eagle, so but yeah, we do also have it
But
here.
our new beautiful website has it.
It's had it even before we switched over. It's
Thank
had it for like a year or two now.
Do you archive those?
Yep, so these are all there and they're not going away, or if there's a record retention schedule, I'm not sure. Our clerk would have to give you more information on that.
Didn't at some point it moved to the Derby paper for a while? And I
I
don't know.
think
if
that
Ken-
was Sedgwick County, that wasn't us.
What is there, are you guys looking at an alternative to the Eagle, or are you just, there's just a up, down vote on that?
Well, the question is, do we want to spend the money publishing the Eagle, or do we want to put it on it's already on the city website.
Okay.
So if you look online, and you could push it to people too. You know, the legal notices, people always want to look at them, you could push it to them. Send them a link to get to the website. Where it is.
Is there a statute, an ordinance? What's the requirement? What's this, is it a state, city requirement that says that these legal notices have to be published and printed? In other words, should we go to the Eagle because it's a printed document for the city, or do we go, so what's the ordinance? Okay, and is it a state or is it a city?
I'll fill this in, you can correct me and fill it in, but there's probably 80% of them that you just have to be published online somewhere to let people know.
Okay.
There are some, maybe 15 or 20% that do have to be printed.
They have to be printed and it specifies the local paper of
The paper of record.
the paper record and the Eagle is our paper of record. Okay. So
They
there are
could change.
80% of them that we really don't have to do in a printed form with the Eagle, and there's about 20%, which we reduce the cost of what we have to spend with $100,000. It's just an option of where we put.
I'm guessing at those numbers.
The 150,000 is like an average. It changes based on how many resolutions, ordinances
Right.
we post. So that's just an average number. That whole number won't go away. Say we still have that 20% or whatever that number is. You still gotta pay for those. And then that number doesn't necessarily go back into the marketing budget. It goes back to whatever department. So purchasing has some, so that'd go back to the purchasing department. Planning does several that go back to planning. So
But it's still a dollar value to the city of Wichita, no matter if it's whatever department they go back to.
Still your tax dollars.
Right. So the idea that we wouldn't have to spend $150,000 or plus or minus, whatever it is, that we only have to publish what is required by law or statute. And then the remainder could be on whatever media seems to be the most utilized in the city of Wichita for information. Would that work?
That would be a plan.
But it would save some dollars out of that.
Tyler, what's an example, to the degree you may or may not know, what's the most common legal notice or what it is?
and don't quote me because I don't know specifically, this was the clerk's item that she presented, but, or that she would be able to give you more information. So I don't know which ones are required that we have to do, but,
There's like bankruptcies.
yeah, so we have like ordinances and resolutions that come from city council, so
Yeah.
those. I don't know, I think there's 80 resolutions maybe so far this year. So,
And so an online publication is saying on our website, I mean, even in a printed publication, you could say remainder of these are published on our website. And then how many hits that you actually have on that website would be able to give you some foundation of how many people are actually looking.
like delinquent property taxes, so many people look at that.
You say, let's do the board here first, then we'll.
A week or so ago, I received an email survey with 4 options. And responded to that. Was that just to DAB members or was that to a wider audience?
It's a newsletter.
You know what the results of that?
Yeah. I did.
Not non-scientific survey.
It's not completely non-scientific survey and maybe a little bit slanted. Save money, I admit that. But 20% want to keep it like it is. 80% want to save money.
Could you give us a couple examples of where this money could go in other places?
Well, it's the city budget. You know, it's no secret that, you know, this year, okay, maybe next year, start seeing deficits. Well, when do we start trying to save money? We start now or do we wait till there's a fire? Then do drastic cuts. And it's $150,000 in the scheme of the city budget. Drop in the bucket, but if you get a whole bunch of drops, then it's real money. So. Any other thoughts?
So in the hypothetical event that the publication were to be eliminated, it were no longer in the Eagle, then that would eliminate 2 of the 3 options you mentioned earlier, right? That would relegate it solely to the website. Is that accurate?
My understanding.
Maybe this is out of turn, but you're looking for more engagements on your social media platforms and your website.
Seems like.
If you get people to the right spot, I mean, they're probably not gonna click in here all afternoon, they're gonna deviate.
Social media, I'll push back a little bit. I don't know who on social media is really gonna be like legal notices.
Looking around.
Posting all those. Those aren't gonna get the best interaction.
What I'm doing on a Monday afternoon
Yeah.
at my job.
But we do post like, hey, you can view these on our website, but we're not gonna go post every single one of them. That would kill
Oh,
it.
no, I'm saying you want more traffic to your website, eliminating your third-party source and capturing all that information right there. That's.
It's gonna make you track exactly how many you're seeing.
That, yes.
Any other good comments, feedback from the DAB members on this?
Could we, Tyler, could we push it to people who want to sign up for it? So and send an email with the notices?
That's what we need to look at, what options we have, because there's no real good way right now that I've found that just by uploading them here, that'll send it out automatically. But we do have systems in place. We just gotta find out what that looks like, what the will of the council is tomorrow, and then find out what that looks like if people want to sign up for notifications. So we're looking into that.
Any additional comments from our guests this evening? Yeah, Elaine.
What about if the city printed a copy and posted it at each library?
Do that as well.
They can get copies at the library now.
Right, but if
But-
we
but
stop
yeah,
posting,
if
if
they
we stop
posted-
posting
If
it
they
in,
posted at the library, you're right, it'd be different.
because that would be one more source than the internet or than the which.gov if it's not no longer published in the Eagle.
Yeah, and I think one thing, I'll play devil's advocate here, you're gonna look at is that's still city government and not a third party posting that, holding that information. So I like the idea, but that could be something that you might want to look at as well.
Sir.
On the Eagle, I mean, very few people that read the Eagle, especially, you know, legal notifications. And they print the delinquent property taxes. I mean, nobody looks at that. I've never talked to anybody that even reads that.
I didn't even know it was in the sports section until last week.
I don't even look at the sports section, so I don't know.
They're trying to grab this.
Isn't that required to be filed like at state level or anything?
That would be a question for the attorneys. I'm not sure on that end, but I think that part of the action tomorrow is making Wichita.gov the official newspaper of record for that. I think that's what that is.
Yeah, the state ordinance says you have to have a newspaper of record, or not newspaper, excuse me. Yeah, whatever that is, of record, so.
So I believe that you guys have a real unique opportunity to, again, I come back to, the will of the people, personal accountability, right? And those who want to know, will be in the know. And I don't think that it's beneficial to continue to spend X amount of dollars, for the hope of, to blanket something where folks, the vast majority are paying attention. So I think that if you look at it strategically and you want the city website to be premise of notice, you have an opportunity to drill that out there, to push people to those who want us on. You have the opportunity to throw a broad net out there and capture those people who want to be in the know and get them directed to where they need to go. And then to begin to cut down some of those extremist costs, and driving those folks to, and then those folks who are just broad-based, hopefully at some point they come on board. But I look at it in that capacity, those that are not coming on board to this, if that is the now place of record, they're probably not utilizing it where it currently is now. And if the city is spending X amount of dollars to, and it's not efficient and it's not accomplishing its task, then greatly what Councilman said, we are looking at some unique challenges coming up in the next couple of years. And so I think that it's a great opportunity to begin to look at where we can begin to reduce our costs prior to the 4-alarm fire hitting. And now we have to make drastic cuts as opposed to being proactive. I think this is a great opportunity for you guys to drive that proactivity and to begin to eliminate some of those costs.
Ditto.
Anything else, anywhere else?
Any other comments from? Does anybody really want it published?
Well, I will say that the newspapers are very needed by animal services to line cages. So the more paper we produce.
Good point.
Full circle of pet politics. Well, Tyler, thank you very much. No, really great information this year. Thank you for all that you and your department do. Appreciate you very much.
Okay. I do have one thing. The DAB members, I've reserved the for the game at the Wind Surge on May 31st, Friday night. You're invited plus one. So it's not plus 12. So May 31st, the Wind Surge, they're playing the Springfield Cardinals, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, JB.
Let us know, and we'll take a roll next meeting and see if we go.
Okay, do not forget to sign your oath of office forms. Unless there's anything else for the good of the order, we will convene again on Monday, May 6th at the same bat time, same bat venue. With that, we are adjourned.
And May 15th is the Animal Services Advisory Board, 4 p.m. At KHS.